All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sharks4Kids Marine Science Google Hangout live from Bimini. If you take a look around me, you can see it's a beautiful morning out over the water. We have a very exciting session planned for you today. So those of you who are new to Sharks4Kids, we're working to create the next generation of shark and ocean advocates through education, outreach, and adventure. And we're trying to instruct students to let them know that they can have the power to stand up and use their voice to help protect sharks, to help protect our oceans. So speaking of students, let's take a minute now and introduce some of the classes we have joining us live today. First up, we have Miss Morris class. Say hi, guys.
Hi. Good morning.
All right, they're a third grade class from Kruger Elementary, part of the North Side School District in San Antonio, Texas. Awesome to have you guys join in today. Up next, we have a group of grade 5 to grade 9 students joining us from Puerto Rico. Give a wave, guys. They're from Beaumont Christian Academy with Learning Centers 1, 2, and 3, and 5th grade to 9th grade. So awesome to have you guys joining in live today. And we're going to jump over to Miss Saley's class. They're in Nebraska. Say hi, guys.
Hi.
All right, they're joining us from Bellevue, Nebraska. And they're a 6th grade class, so great to have you guys along for today's session. It should be a good one. And let's check in with our last group. How's it going over there?
Can you hear us now?
I can hear you loud and clear. Awesome.
Say hi.
All right, so this group is grades 6 to 8 from Hahira Middle School in southern Georgia. And there's kids here from Mr. Brogdon's class, Mrs. Mitchell's class, Mrs. Black, and Mrs. Turner's classrooms. And their little town is known for the honeybee, and they have a honeybee festival every year. That's awesome. Maybe we can get a shark one going next. All right, so thanks so much for everybody joining us. I'm just putting your microphones on mute right now. And we've got a few things on the go right now. So we have Jillian Morris live at the Bimini Biological Field Station, and she's going to run through a little shark workup with you guys. And then down at the dock, we've got Duncan. I don't know if you can see him. Duncan, give a wave. Duncan's baiting the water, and with any luck, we might get a few sharks come in, and we can get those on camera as well. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Jillian Morris, founder of Sharks4Kids, shark advocate, scuba diver, all-around awesome person. Here we go. If you want to turn your mic on, Jillian, you're good to go.
Cool. All right. Can you guys hear us okay? Cool. All right. Good morning and welcome. I'm hoping you guys can see us okay. We can't see ourselves, so hopefully you can see us. And my name is Jillian, and today we actually have something really, really special to share with you. So I'm really glad all of you are here and joining us this morning. And I'm at the Bimini Biological Field Station today, also known as the Shark Lab, and it's been here for 25 years. It was founded by Doc Gruber as a base for his research with lemon sharks. And since it was founded, it's really kind of pioneered shark research and science throughout the world. So even though it's here in Bimini, this tiny little island in the Bahamas, only about 50 miles from Florida, it's really world-renowned for the work that's been done here. If you've ever watched TV shows on Animal Planet, National Geographic, BBC, you've probably seen the Shark Lab. And the work that's done here covers a wide range of research topics, different species, but there are a couple of main species that the lab does look at. And today, we're actually going to introduce you to one of these. And I have a great team here from the research station, and I'm going to introduce them. And then we're going to let you meet our special friend that's going to assist us today. and we're going to go through what's called a shark workup. Now, wherever you are in the world, wherever you're catching sharks, different species, there's sort of a standard procedure that happens, and it's very similar to when you go to the doctor and you get your checkup, right? And what it's kind of like doing a checkup for the shark, and we're going to collect information or data about this animal. So it can be any really type of species. It's done pretty similar around the world, looking for this specific information, and we're actually going to show you that today. So you're going to see real shark science in action. So we're really excited to share that with you. All right, so this is Eva. I'm going to let Eva just introduce, if you want to just tell where you're from. And
I'm from New York, and I'm a student at Northeastern University.
all right, and then I have one of the lab managers here, Lorna.
Hi guys, my name's Lorna. I'm originally from Ohio, and I am Rachel's assistant lab manager here.
And hi, I'm Rachel. I'm originally from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, and I'm one of the lab managers here at the Shark Lab.
Right, now, the Shark Lab actually goes out and works with wild sharks, but they actually do have semi-captive pens. So a semi-captive pen is kind of like if you've seen cows out in a field with a fence around it. It's the same idea, but it's in the ocean, and they can keep a few small sharks. They're kept for 30 days or less, and they're used to educate people and also to do some of the research that students are working on here at the lab. And one of the sharks that we have in the pen, this is really exciting. I'm going to step right in the tub here, and I'm going to introduce you to the star of our show. All right, she's a little shy. All right, can you guys all see this? Whoops, Mike, there, yes. You guys say good morning. This is our little friend. This is probably about as small as a nurse shark gets. So this is a nurse shark, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about the anatomy of this specific shark, and then we're going to collect some data. Now, this shark is pretty newborn. This is about as small as they get. And so we're going to step in and introduce you guys, but this is really the star of the show today. So if you guys can all see, oh, she's spitting at my computer. All right, hang on. Whoops, oops. That's more open capture smile. All right, I don't know what that is. All right, you're all right. All right. Oops, don't tap. All right. So if you guys want to, someone wants to do anatomy, I'm going to just sort this out for just a second.
So hi, you guys. It's Rachel again. I'm going to go over anatomy for this little nurse shark. Like Jillian said, this is about as tiny as they get. I'm just giving her a chance to take a deep breath of water. So nurse sharks are one of the hardiest shark species there is. It's one of the reasons that we're using these sharks to show you a workup. So this little girl is a female shark. We can tell because she doesn't have any claspers. Double check. Yep, it's a little female shark. You can notice that she's entirely covered in these little polka dots. That's something that only juvenile nurse sharks will have. They lose them as they grow older. She'll start to lose these spots in this kind of banding color. It's something that just the babies have. So I'm going to start at the head and work my way down towards the tail. She's just so tiny. So you can probably tell from right around her snout, you might see these two little dangling things that look like fangs. They're actually called barbels, and they help her sense prey and other living things that are in the soil. They help her smell and kind of sense out what's in the water. I'm just going to give her a quick breath. Right behind her little barbels that she has two eyes. Now, some sharks have what's called a nictitating membrane that functions much like an eyelid for us. But you might be able to see, I'm going to dangle a dripping shark over Jillian's laptop. But she has these tiny little white eyes with no eyelids. So you can see her eyes. If I would poke her in the eye, she wouldn't have that nictitating membrane that white sharks and tiger sharks have. If you watch the movies where their eyes kind of go black or white and they look kind of scary, she doesn't have those. But if you ever watch a movie and you see a shark do that, what's happening is they're just covering up their eyes to protect them. So it's just a way to protect themselves in those kind of situations, that they don't get scratched by any fish scales if they're trying to eat a fish. So moving down along, you'll see that you might be able to see, she has 5 tiny little gill slits that she's now kind of pumping. So another thing that makes nurse sharks so special is that they can gulp water to keep breathing if they rest on the bottom. So right now she's sucking in air trying to breathe some water. It's actually where nurse sharks got their name, is from the nursing sound that they make when they're sucking in food. But you can see she has 5 gill slits. That's how she breathes. After that, she has 2 pectoral fins right here. They're kind of like her little arms. Nurse sharks can prop themselves up when they're trying to suck in crustaceans or little benthic fish. That's what they eat. She can use these to prop herself up. Moving along, she has 2 tiny little dorsal fins. They're both about equal in size. They're kind of further back on her body. She's not a fast shark. She's not going to be spending a lot of her time swimming in the water column like a mako shark or a great white. You can see that her tail fin is really elongate and frilly. It's not really built for speed. It's more built for like bottom propulsion and like maneuvering, because she's going to be spending a lot more time on the bottom, tucked up under ledges. I'm going to go over one last thing. You guys might know, or 2 last things, that make sharks so special. Firstly, did you know that they're entirely covered in teeth? Sharks have what are called dermal denticles, which are basically, they have the same anatomy as teeth that run back along their body. So if you rub your hand one way against the shark, it's going to feel sharp, but it's going to feel incredibly smooth if you go the other way. Each different species of shark has a different kind of dermal denticle. Nurse sharks are actually gorgeous. If you've been following Jillian's Sharks4Kids page, she's recently done a close-up of nurse shark skin, and it's gorgeous. It shows it's just this mosaic of color. They have a very tough skin since they spend a lot of their time tucked up under ledges. And last but not least, sharks do have a sixth sense. If you're into watching movies, no, they can't detect dead people, or no, they don't see dead people. They can actually detect electromagnetic pulses. So anytime a muscle twitches or a heart beats, it puts out a small electrical current, and sharks can detect that. It's one of the ways that they can find their prey, and it's one of the many things that make them so special and why we love them. So without further ado, we can go to the workup. I'm just going to let her swim around a little bit, and I'll pass the show over to Lorna.
Hi guys, so I'm going to take you through the regular workup that we do with every shark that comes through the lab, whether we're out in the field or we get to do them in our back pens. We do the same standard workup for every shark, big and small. So we have this trough here. It's got a tape measure in the bottom of it, and it just makes it easier for us to do the measurements for these tiny sharks. We're going to put a little water in it for her, that way she can breathe while she's in here still, but she's a little more manageable for us to hold. Alright, so we're going to take this little girl here and put her in our little trough, nose first, the very tip, so that way she's nice and straight along here.
Do you want to give me a thumbs up if you can see us pretty well?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you can just lower the camera slightly.
Is that better?
Alright, the first one is called the pre-caudal length, which is right at the base of her tail. So the tip of her nose to the base of her tail. And this little girl is 24.5 centimeters to her pre-caudal length. And then for nurse sharks, we do a total length. So from the tip of her nose to the tip of her tail. She is 34 centimeters, so just around 1 foot. She's pretty tiny. We're also going to do a girth measurement, so we're going to see how big her belly is. We're going to tuck this little tape measure up into her armpits of her pectoral fins that Rachel was showing you. Going to work it up there, right around. And she is 14.5 centimeters around. She got a little belly. Another cool thing that we do with all of our sharks now is put something in called a pit tag. And if any of you guys have dogs or cats and maybe have them microchipped at the vet, it's the exact same technology. So this is what the tag looks like. It's so tiny, it's the size of a grain of rice, basically. And we put that just on the inside of the shark's skin by the dorsal fin. And this girl's a little too tiny. We're going to leave it out of her. But in the bigger sharks, we put it right about here, right where that polka dot is, actually. And then we take our scanners, and when we're out in the field, we can see if we've ever caught this shark before. So we can see this is our little pit tag scanner. And we'll take it with this card, and this will be under the shark's skin, so we'll just wave it across there. And there shows up your ID. And so every shark has a different ID, and we can keep track of them in our database then for how many times we've caught them. A couple last things that we do on these little sharks is take some DNA and isotope samples. So it's a little fin clip from this first dorsal fin. We take about just a little corner here for her DNA, and that can tell us who she's related to. There's some really cool studies that the Shark Lab has done on family trees of lemon sharks in the North Sound parts of Bimini. So we've actually figured out moms and cousins and daughters, and so that's part of the ongoing research we have. And then the second bit of sample is called an isotope sample. We take that from the same fin, but it goes right about here, and that tells us what she eats. So there's a saying, you are what you eat, and that's actually pretty true for sharks too. So we can figure out if this little lady's been eating mostly crabs or scallops, or what she prefers, or what's in her environment that she's able to eat. So that's the last bit of data that we take from her. There's some other tags for bigger sharks, but this little lady, we'll leave her go.
She's about the size of some of the tags we have.
Yeah.
Satellite tag.
Yeah. So she's pretty much worked up. We record all that into our data books and our database, and then we can keep that information for if we were to ever catch her again, because most of the time the nurse sharks will stick around Bimini for almost their entire life. So.
Other tags we can show?
Yeah, back by the radios.
Alright, we're just going to show you guys some of the other tags that are a little bit bigger that some of the other sharks get.
So right now we have a NIMS tag. The acoustic transmitter should be in the rigid case. So right here we have what's called a DART tag or a Casey tag. We get them from the National Marine Fisheries Service. And there's a lot of information that we'll fill out on the front of this card, and then we can mail it in as it is. And it goes to that office, and then if someone else captures our tag, captures our shark, there's a little capsule at the end that they can unscrew. And there's information on where to send that data, and then if they send that in to the National Marine Fisheries Service, they'll call us or email us and let us know that someone's caught our shark. Hopefully they take some length measurements, then we get growth rate, movement patterns. Also, if we catch a shark with one of these tags in that we've already tagged, then we can get that growth and movement information from them. Something else, another one of the reasons that we like to tag sharks is just in case another fisherman catches a shark or someone else catches it by accident. We like to think that if they have a tag on him, it might give them a little bit more reason to release that shark or make sure it swims off okay. Maybe they'll think it's part of an important study, and hopefully it helps encourage other people to want to keep that shark alive. Another tag that we've started to use more frequently is right here. It's called an acoustic pinger. It doesn't have any numbers on the outside. We just have Dr. Samuel Gruber's contact information, so I'll try not to send that over the internet. But this is an acoustic tag, so it just puts out a little message. You can't hear it, even if I take this magnet, which is keeping this tag asleep. If I were to take off this magnet, it would start transmitting right away, but you wouldn't be able to hear it. It's kind of an ultrasonic, different frequency, but we have receivers set up all around the island, and a lot of other people have these same receivers set up along the entire eastern coast of the United States and all over the world. And then wherever a shark goes that will put one of these tags in will be picked up, and then it's this large cooperation, and we all help each other and share information, and it kind of helps us all learn more about sharks' life history or different. It's not just sharks that get these tags put in them. We've actually detected bluefin tuna on some of our receivers here that have traveled all the way from Canada. So we're kind of hoping that some of the sharks that we put these tags in will hear from other scientists saying that they've traveled all these fantastic faraway places. So that's a little bit about the different tags that we use here at the station.
All right, well, thank you guys. I think that's, we're going to conclude. We'll show you our little friend one more time here. You can say goodbye to her. She's going to wave goodbye. And this is important to remember that even if someone caught a great white, a lot of the same techniques would be used to collect that information. So even though it's not a nurse shark or a very tiny shark, all this information can be collected on larger species throughout the world. And the information is used to determine different things about these sharks, how fast they grow, where they spend their time. And all of this is really important because the more we know about these animals, the better the chances, the better our ability to protect them. So here in the Bahamas, we're actually in a shark sanctuary. So it's illegal to catch and kill sharks here, but this is not the case everywhere. So the work that comes from science and the information that's learned helps to get people, legislation, governments to protect larger areas of the ocean, hopefully protecting more and more species of sharks. So all of this data that's collected around the world is used for better laws and regulations to protect more sharks. So it's really, really important, not only in better understanding these animals, but really in finding ways throughout the world to offer better protections and better management of the species. So you guys got to see some science that is happening right here in Bimini, but is also used throughout the world to better protect these animals. So thank you guys. We'll open it up to questions now.
Okay, that was awesome. Thanks so much, guys. I'm just going to take a second and give a shout out to some classes who are watching live who just sent in their locations. So we have a first grade class from Delaware. We've got second grade class from New Washington, Indiana. We've got a class from France joining us today. Some third, fourth, and fifth graders in Boston. We've got another group, Mrs. Ledbetter's class in Jefferson, Indiana. We've got some more third graders from Texas. Some seventh graders from Jonesville, Virginia. We've got a class watching from Milwaukee. Let's see, another class from Texas. Primer students in Texas. Got some students in Jonesville, Virginia. So we have classrooms from all over the world watching today. We can't thank you guys enough for joining us, and we hope you're learning a lot. So let's open it up to some questions. Let's head over to Texas first, to Mr. Morris' class. How's everything going over there?
Oh, the sound's on, guys. Wave and say hi.
Hi.
All right, I heard a rumor you might have a couple questions for us.
Come on, step up and make sure you can be seen.
Hi, my name is Ryder, and how many types of sharks can survive in fresh water?
Did you hear him?
Yep, Jillian, you just have to turn the mic back on.
Yep, we're good. Go for it.
Okay.
That's a good question. I know of only one species of shark that can spend some of its life in freshwater, and we actually have them here in Bimini. The bull shark can actually spend portions of its life moving up rivers into fresh water. It's kind of special adaptation for them. We actually have some here in Bimini. There's no freshwater streams here in Bimini, but we've mostly just seen adults. I think Dr. Guttridge, the director of the lab, had told me that in some areas of the world, though, adults will travel upriver to give birth to their young up in rivers, but I do not believe that's straight across the board all over the world that bull sharks do that. But yeah, the bull shark does. I think that's the only one that I know of.
Yeah.
You got another one?
Not quite Dr. yet.
Hi, my name is CeeLo, and my question is, were you nervous the first time you were swimming with sharks?
Who wants to?
Sure. The first time I swam with a shark was actually just last week. And I was nervous, but I was really excited to see them. They were really powerful, but you could tell they weren't interested in humans. We're not their preferred food choice. So I felt safe, and it was really nice to be able to see them so close.
Great question.
Thank you.
All right, I've just moved inside for a moment. It is hot, hot, hot outside. Let's move over. Let's go to Puerto Rico and let's get a few questions from our 5th to 9th graders. All right, who's first?
Hello, my name is Michael, and I'm going to ask a question about sharks, about how they communicate. That's my question.
All right, how do sharks communicate with each other? Good question.
That's some really good questions. Jillian, do you have any?
Yes. Well, we know that actually sharks don't communicate like we do, so they don't sit and have a conversation with their friends like you might do today in class, but they can learn from each other. So they've got to be able to learn and communicate somehow. Research being done here at the lab has actually shown that they do learn from each other. So say a lemon shark learns how to push a button, okay? So this shark is going to push a button, it's going to swim up in the water, pushes a button, and a fish falls out. It says, all right, if I push that button, I'm going to get a fish. Now, if you put another lemon shark in, it will do that much faster because it's learned. Now, whether it's just from visually watching or whether they're actually communicating with each other, we're still learning that information. Okay, this is why the science is so important, because there's all these things we're still learning. But they do communicate with each other. We know somehow because they actually do learn from each other. So that's something that maybe someday you guys, if you're a good junior shark scientist or you grow up to be a marine biologist, that might be a question you can work on and help figure out. Very good question.
I think you might have another one for us over there.
Hi, my name is Samuel, and my question is, do sharks sleep? Thanks.
Good question.
Yeah.
So sharks don't actually sleep all the time or take a period at night where they go to sleep fully, but they do have the ability to shut off certain portions of their brain at a time. So they're always aware a little bit, you know, they need to be on their game at all times, but they can turn off a little different parts of their brains so that way they do get some rest.
And imagine if, so this little nurse shark that can rest on the bottom, as Rachel talked about, nurse sharks being able to breathe even if they're sitting still. But some species of sharks, like great whites, they have to move forward. They have to keep swimming their entire life in order to get that water to come in over their gills, allowing them to breathe. So imagine if you were a great white, you'd have to rest those parts of brain while you're still swimming. So it's kind of like sleepwalking. All right, imagine if today at school you were walking up and down the hallway and you were trying to take a little nap while you were doing it. Right? They don't get to go home and put on their favorite pajamas and curl up in bed like we do. So it's very different, but they can rest parts of their brain. Another really great question.
Jillian, you can keep your mic on as long as it's quiet over there, and then we don't have to wait in between.
Okay.
Cool. All right, guys, great questions. Hopefully we can come back for a few more. Let's move to another classroom, but before we do, I just want to remind everybody that this session is going live to YouTube, so you can watch it later at home if you like. As well, you can head over to the Sharks4Kids website, sharks4kids.com, and check out all kinds of curriculum activities, videos, interviews with shark scientists, posters, so it's a great spot to go check out. You can also follow us on Twitter, check us out on Google+, Instagram, lots of pictures and videos going up all the time, so I'll make sure I get those links posted up on the event page so you can check them out. And we'll move over to Nebraska. How you guys doing over there?
Good.
All right, 6th graders, let's have a couple questions.
Hi, my name is Bailey, and I have a question that is, what is the average lifespan of a shark? Which kind lives the longest, and which kind lives the shortest?
Good question, Bailey.
That's a really good question. I'm a little bit more familiar with the different species of sharks that we have here in Bimini. So lemons and nurse sharks. So lemons are the species that we've done the most research on here in Bimini. Their average lifespan is only known to be about 25 years old, and that's just because that is the oldest shark that they've ever caught. To get the age of a lemon shark, you can't just ask it what its age is, but you can actually age them much like a tree trunk. Their spinal columns have rings that show their growth rate, but unfortunately there's no way to get the age of a living shark. So we only know that they can grow to be 25 years old, but there's no reason that they can't grow to be older than that. We actually believe that they do grow to be older than that and have a lifespan maybe similar to that of humans, probably a little bit shorter. Same thing for nurse sharks. They can also grow to be at least 25, 30 years old if they're able to make it that late in life. They also have a similar age of maturity where they won't begin to start having babies until they're about 12, 13 years old. They're still maturing. So that's one of the reasons that makes sharks so vulnerable. One of the reasons that we want to protect them so much is because it takes them a very long time to be able to make babies. And then of the offspring they have, maybe only a third will make it to adulthood that can reproduce as well. So it makes it very difficult for them to keep a healthy population size when in other parts of the world they're still fished.
Yeah, and because there are over 500 different species of sharks, the range of lifespan varies quite a bit. So these sharks here, like Rachel said, 25 to 30. Great whites are probably 50 to 70 years, but the Greenland shark can live over 100 years. So they're the longest living shark that we know that exists today, and they're found in very cold, very deep water off the coast of Greenland to Iceland, and they're the sharks that live the longest that we know about. But again, what's really exciting about shark science is every day new things are being discovered, new species are being discovered. So all of this stuff is really exciting because we're lucky, we're learning a lot each and every day about these animals. Very good questions.
All right, great questions and great answers coming back. Another question from Nebraska?
I'm Amber, and my question is, if you're in the water and a shark is coming towards you, what do you do?
So if you're snorkeling yourself in the water and you see a shark coming towards you, just remain calm. Most of the time they're just curious. They're just trying to check you out. You do have to keep an eye on them. If they get too close, you know, maybe push them away or something. But most of the time they're just coming in, sensing you with their sixth sense, their electromagnetic sensors. But if they come in to check you out, you know, just remain calm. Swim around. They just want to see what you are, and then they should go. Oh, excuse me. They should go right away.
They're just curious. If you think about it, if you were in your classroom and you guys were sitting there and a stranger walked in your classroom, you'd probably turn around. You'd want to see who came in the door and just know what's going on. It's the same thing with sharks. If you imagine we're in the ocean, we're in their neighborhood, we're in their city, we're in their bedroom, you know, maybe their house, right? And so here's this strange thing coming in. So they're curious. They want to know what it is. We don't look like food. We don't smell like food. So it's really just trying to figure out what it is. And like Lorna said, chances are they're going to be more scared of you and they're actually going to swim away.
Okay. Thanks for the questions. I'm going to duck over and I'm going to take a couple questions from the event page. So those who are watching the live stream, don't forget, if you send a question to the chat bar or right to the event page, I can catch them here and I can ask them. So we've got a question here. LM wants to know how long a lemon shark is when it's fully grown.
Ooh, that's a good question. It actually kind of differs from shark to shark, just like people. They have different growths that they'll reach. We've found that some lemon sharks actually shrink as they grow older. And then some lemon sharks might put a lot more energy into growing really big, but they might not produce as many babies. Whereas some lemon sharks we found will have 13, 14 babies every other year, because lemon sharks give birth every 2 or 3 years. And they might not grow as big as other sharks, but maybe it's just because she's a really good mom, or they're putting more energy into another kind of survival method. They'd rather pass on their information. They'd rather be a really good mom and make a bunch of babies than get really big and intimidating. What's the average length? The average length for an adult lemon shark that we catch in Bimini is probably around 2.5 meters. It's usually between 2.5 and 2.8 is like a good size lemon shark. The biggest lemon shark that we've ever caught here in Bimini was 2.97, and that was after a pretty healthy DNA clip from the caudal fin, from the tail fin. So it's possible that we had a 3-meter lemon shark, but we took a fin clip before we took the measurement. So it was just under, but pretty close.
Good question.
All right. So just to remind some of the teachers and students who are watching, if you look at the left side of the screen, a little toolbar comes up with all kinds of things like the Q&A section, the pictures. There's a little group of yellow tags called Showcase. And if you take a look at those, either now or after, there's a list of website links. So there's a link to the Sharks4Kids page. I've also put up a link to the Google Plus page as well as a YouTube page. So you can check out more Sharky video by going to the Showcase section. And those links will take you right where you want to go. And there's a class here in New Washington, and they've sent a question in. They're wondering what would happen to a shark when it dies. So I guess they're wondering, if it dies in the ocean, what happens to that shark?
Okay. So it depends on how it dies, really. If another shark or another animal is eating it, then it's going to get eaten. A lot of things in the ocean, they don't go to waste. Okay, so things don't go to waste, and you think about it, they're part of the food chain even after they die. So chances are, if it's not eaten by another larger animal, or even this little nurse shark here, could be a perfect snack for another shark, a bigger fish. So it really just depends on how they actually died. If they were eaten by something else, if the animal dies, it gets sick, or it's injured and it dies, then chances are other fish, other sharks, other animals are going to eat it. It's not going to go to waste. So that will definitely be consumed by something. It just depends on what kind of the shark it is, how it died, how quickly it's actually going to be consumed.
Okay, so I'm just making my way down to the dock just to see what's going on, but we can switch over to our class in Georgia.
Yeah.
You know, they have some questions. They've been waiting patiently for us.
Ready?
Yep.
No.
When shark gets cancer.
That's a really good question, because for the longest time, we believed that sharks did not get cancer. We thought that they were basically immune to it. We never saw any cases of sharks with cancer. But as you can imagine, we're only taking a small look under the water. There's still a vast amount of the ocean that we haven't explored. We haven't seen a majority of the sharks that are there. I know here in Bimini, very recently, we saw sharks that had something that resembled very close to a tumor by its gills. But I think that's one of the first cases that we might have seen that it could be cancer. This was just a free-swimming shark that we actually saw on one of our reef shark dives. So we didn't catch it. We couldn't take a biopsy like maybe a human would if they went into the doctors to see it. unfortunately, sharks can't really go to a doctor's office and be like, hey, can you check this out? This looks kind of funny. There's no one really looking out for them. That's a really good question because for the longest time we've thought that no, sharks can't get cancer.
I think they actually have a great white and a bronze whaler, I believe in Australia, that they have determined they believe that the tumors that are on the sharks are cancerous. A lot of people say that sharks don't get cancer so that if you eat pills or like vitamins made from the cartilage of a shark, because believe it or not, sharks don't actually have any bones in their body. Their entire skeleton is made of cartilage. If you touch the end of your nose or the top of your ear, you feel that cartilage. That's what a shark's entire skeleton is made of. And so people sell products made from that, and they say if you take this, either you won't get cancer or it'll prevent cancer, and that's actually not true. Okay, so those products are a complete waste. But somebody's decided that, you know, they're using it to make money, unfortunately. So it is believed that sharks, maybe not every species can get it, but at least possibly some of them can get a form of cancer. Good question.
All right, so just an update from the dock. We did have a nurse shark come in, but it has swam off, so I'm going to stand out here, and I may interrupt if he or she comes back, but we'll take another question from Georgia.
Say your name.
My name's Jeremy Reese.
Speak up. Louder.
My name's Jeremy Reese. And
How can sharks
travel?
The question is, how far can sharks travel?
All right, that's a really cool question too. It also depends on species. So these nurse sharks that we have here, sometimes they spend their entire lives in Bimini, and Bimini's not very big, so they might travel 5 miles here and there, living under the coral reefs and hanging out, and that depends on the same type of species. If there's a similar species that likes to live in corals, they might not travel very far, but you do have some species, like the great hammerhead that we think migrates thousands of miles, and the same with great whites. You know, OSearch has tagged a female great white shark that's traveled like 3,000 miles across oceans. So it's very important that we protect these sharks because in some countries they might not be protected, but when they travel to another country they are. So we need to make sure that everyone's protecting them. That way, you know, when they do migrate and these endangered species do migrate to other countries, they're still safe in their other shark sanctuaries. So it just depends on the species, and but it is very important that we protect all of them, whether they are moving or not moving.
Question.
All right, good question, another great answer. So just checking back on the event page, I have a few more questions that have come in. I've got a question that just came in. What types of sharks have recently been discovered? Are there any new species, and where were they found?
In Indonesia, there was a species of walking shark that was discovered last year, I believe. There's been a new species of scalloped hammerhead, and lots of actually deep sea. So these species of sharks that live in thousands of feet, hundreds of thousands of feet of water, and oftentimes with big nets, they go down, fishermen take big nets and they go down, they trawl, they drag to the bottom of whatever comes up. So sadly, a lot of the species that are newly discovered are often they're dead because they've come up from great depths. But it's exciting to know that there are all these new species. I believe that there were quite a few deep sea sharks every year as they're doing more of these surveys. So there's certainly quite a few every year, which again, kind of what we're emphasizing for you guys is really the protection of not just sharks, but also our oceans, taking care of the oceans, because there's so much that we do not know. And if we destroy it before we even learn about it, that's really sad, not only for, you know, the sharks in the oceans, but really sad for the planet itself. So that's why it's really important to take care of sharks and also take care of the oceans around the world. Whether you live on the beach or 3,000 miles away, it's really, really important.
Okay.
Question.
Good question. Back to the event page, we have some 5th graders from Jefferson, Indiana, and they're wondering what is the rarest type of shark? So maybe the most endangered or threatened.
Well, unfortunately, About 1/4 or 25% of all sharks and rays, if you imagine the shark's cousins, you get rays, stingrays, rays, skates. They're about 25% or 1/4 are threatened with extinction. This is a very, very large number. Some of the most threatened are species of angel sharks. Their habitat has been completely destroyed. So it's not always just overfishing. It can also be habitat, or their range has been reduced. And different types of fishing and targeting. Even if people aren't targeting sharks, say you're a fisherman and you're going out and you're trying to catch a different species, but you accidentally catch sharks, they're considered bycatch. So that unfortunately causes a lot of problems and kills many species. And because angel sharks lay on the bottom, they spend a lot of time on the bottom. They're ambush predators, so they wait for something to swim by. They're camouflaged, they blend in, they sit there and they wait. Because they're on the bottom, these big nets that come through scoop them up. So the species of angel sharks are probably some of the most threatened. Also the sawfish, which is a batwood. So again, it's a cousin to a shark. It looks like you stuck a giant saw in its face, right? And they're actually the most endangered fishes in the world. So they're probably in the biggest trouble. But sadly, a lot of sharks are actually in a lot of trouble, and they're threatened with extinction. Good question.
So we're still out here on the dock. We haven't seen our friend come by, but I do want to thank Duncan for being out here in the hot, hot sun, because it is not easy. It is hot out here. But maybe I'll walk over and there's lots of little fish around. Maybe I'll try and just turn the screen, give you an idea. So we had some bait in the water, and we're pouring in some chum and some fishy liquid. So we got lots of little tropical fish. I don't know if you can see that. And one visitor, he kind of swam by, but moved on. So I guess we may be out of luck for that, but that's okay. You can't predict a shark. Let's take one more question from the event page, and then we'll go back to each classroom. We might have time for one more question before 10 o'clock. So, Mrs. Beaumont's second grade class in Bud Lake, New Jersey, they want to know, what is a shark's vision like? How far can a typical shark see?
Good question.
What was the question?
How far can a shark see?
Well, really, go ahead. You guys are doing research.
That's a really good question. That's not really, or I guess Doc used to do some work with lemon shark vision. So one of the unique species of sharks that we have here in Bimini is the great hammerhead shark, which is listed as a threatened to endangered species. So it is a species of concern that we still know relatively little about. You guys are probably familiar with the shark, even if you don't know its name, but it has a very funny shaped head where it actually has a wide, flat nose with eyes at either end of it. So you might think that it has really poor vision because it only has its eyes on either end of this wide, flat, kind of shovel-like nose. But they actually have 360-degree vision. They have one of the best vision ranges of any species of shark. And they're a species that we've just started to really try and make more of an effort to study, since we do see them here in Bimini every season, just so we can learn something more about this great species. It's actually of great importance to the Bahamas for the ecotourism. So we want to try and learn more about this shark so that we can keep them around. But they can see 360 degrees around them, and if you ever see them in the water, they do a bunch of quick, sharp turns. Some previous researchers have actually done a study that show that they do the most sharp turns, or they exhibit more sharp turns than other species. So even though they have really good vision, they're kind of always looking around, always keeping their head on the swivel.
And you imagine that vision's really important, because if you're a shark, you're not going to McDonald's, all right? You're not going to your favorite restaurant. You're not rolling up and opening the refrigerator to have a snack. You got to find all your own food. So it was once thought that sharks had very poor vision or couldn't see at all very far. But some species, like this little nurse shark that you met earlier, even though it has a very small eye, they're primarily nocturnal, so they're active at night. So some sharks can see very well in low light. So imagine if you were walking around your house with the lights are out, but you can kind of see just a little bit. So they do actually have pretty remarkable vision, much better than once was thought. And it is something that they use to find their prey. All of their senses are really important for finding their food, because there is no fast food. There's no easy meal for a shark.
Jillian?
Yes?
On my screen, can you see the moray eel?
I see shadows of you guys.
The shadow's pointing. I'm right next to my shadow on the right is a moray eel.
Ah, moving, yes, yes. Very cool. If you can tilt it up just a little bit. There, yeah. Okay. Yeah, yes. Okay, so right there. Yeah, we can see it.
All right, so you got a little something. I'm taking a bit of a risk. I've walked away from the signal, but we seem to still be here, so that's good. All right. That's kind of cool. Let's move back to the classrooms and squeak in a couple more questions. So back to Texas and Miss Morris' class. Do we have another question you might want to ask while we have Jillian and the crew at the Shark Lab?
Oh yeah, they've got lots of questions.
Introduce yourself and back up. My name is John, and my question is, why do sharks keep their fin above water?
Can you say that again? Sorry?
Why do sharks keep their fin above water?
Why do they put their fins above water?
When they're traveling, why is their top fin going across the top of the water? Why is it out of the water?
Ah, well, it depends on if you're a shark that eats food at the surface. So different sharks eat different things. So oftentimes, if you're a species like a great hammerhead or a tiger shark, and you might be cruising along, and stuff that you're finding, things to eat, are right up at the surface, it's not necessarily that they're trying to put it out on purpose. It's just that fin is so big, that dorsal fin is so large, that if they're right up at the surface, it's going to stick up out of the water. And the great thing about species that do that is that when the lab here or other places put tags on them, satellite tags, so they go on, that information from that tag, it's a much larger one than the ones you saw here, that information can go up through an antenna and go up to satellites spinning above the planet, and information can come to scientists right on their computers, and they can get that right away. So it's actually really great that species do spend time at the surface, and that large dorsal fin sticks out of the water, because it allows us to learn more about these animals and get the information sooner. We don't have to wait until the tag falls off. We don't have to wait days, months, or years to get that information. We can actually get information every time that shark comes up to the surface. So it's actually really great that some of them do that. Good question.
All right. Miss Morris' class, can you, if it's possible, can you pan up and show us what you have on the roof of your classroom?
You sure can. Okay.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Oh.
So their class is going to outdo Shark Week. They're preparing for 2 weeks of sharks. So forget Shark Week. Let's go for 2 weeks.
You see our big shark in the back with his smile?
Very cool.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, Puerto Rico and our grade 5 to 9s. Do you have another question for our team?
Hello there. My name is Christian, and I have a question. Out of all the sharks you have tagged, which one has migrated the farthest away that you have found, or has been located? That is broadcast back to you. Thank you.
Which shark that the lab is tagged has traveled the farthest?
Probably. Yeah, so it's probably our great hammerhead sharks again. Last year we were lucky enough to have 2 satellite tags donated. So these are archival pop-up tags. So they just store the information for 3 months. The tag stays on for 3 months, and during that time it's collecting all this information, but just keeping it. And then after 3 months it'll pop up and go to the surface of the water, and then it will translate, or it will transmit that data back to the satellite. Download that. And last year we deployed our first 2 satellite tags ever on great hammerheads, and it was a really anxious time for us because we weren't sure if we were going to get the tags back, if they would work properly. And then after 3 months, we got the good news that both tags were successful and popped up and transmitted their data. And we found that one of our sharks traveled all the way up to Virginia. And we found out that it made this big journey and I forget how many days it was. In 17 days, it traveled 2,000 miles, 1,000, around 2,000 miles. So it must have been booking it, swimming pretty fast. But that's the furthest that we've known our sharks to go. After the tag popped off, it could have kept heading north for all we know. We had Microwave donated us 10 more satellite tags that we're going to deploy on the hammerheads this year. So hopefully they'll all work and we'll get some more movement patterns. It's really exciting.
And if you guys check out the Shark Lab's website, it's BiminiSharkLab.com, you'll be able to find out which hammerheads they've tagged and maybe even be able to track them and see where they go. Or you guys can even guess how far they're going to go. So that's a really great question.
All right. Miss Saley's class in Nebraska, do you have a wrap-up question for us?
What shark gets the big, hi, my name is Jake, and what shark gets the biggest and what gets the smallest?
The biggest shark is actually the whale shark, and they're the largest fish in the sea, as well as being the largest shark that is living. They can be as long as a school bus, so imagine swimming along and seeing something as long as a school bus underwater with you. All right, and they're a filter feeder called a whale shark because of their size, and also they filter plankton, so they suck in the seawater and eat the little plankton like several species of whales actually do. The smallest, there's a couple of species of like lanternfish, pygmy lanternfish. They're very deep water sharks, and they're about 6 to 8 inches long, so about half the size of your ruler, and that's as big as they get. So they don't even get as big as this baby nurse shark, full size. All right, so that's quite a range from about 6 to 8 inches all the way up to a school bus, and every size and length in between. So it's quite a wide range, but those are really the biggest and the smallest. Great question. Thank you, everyone, for all your wonderful, wonderful questions.
Jillian, I'm going to touch with one more class, and then we'll sign off because we're reaching 10 o'clock. So Georgia, with our group of students that we have there, everyone still doing okay over there?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Do you have a question to wrap up our session for today?
Do sharks stay with their mates? The question is, do sharks stay with their mates?
Oh, interesting question.
That's a very interesting question. I thought you were going to ask if they stayed with their parents, which I was going to say most species do not. It's kind of a drop off their babies in a safe habitat. That's what the lemon shark does. It drops them off in a safe habitat, then gets out before it's tempted to eat their own babies. For mates, for parents, I don't believe there are any marriage sharks. Thank you. I don't think there are any species that are monogamous. I know for the lemon shark that one mother lemon shark can actually have children from 2 different male lemon sharks. So multiple different fathers can contribute to one litter for lemon sharks. So we've been doing this tagging project where we catch 99% of the baby lemon sharks in Bimini every summer. We've been doing this project for over 20 years now. So we're now catching the babies from the first baby lemon sharks that we caught around 20 years ago. And from all those years of night field netting, hard work, and data collection, we found that oftentimes there are siblings that are only half sister or half brothers to each other in a single offspring.
So it's not really like other mammals that you see or even birds that pair or mate for life. That doesn't happen in the shark world. It's very different. But another really, really great question.
All right. Well, we have reached 10 o'clock, and we have just had a great session with classes from all over the world. Great questions, amazing answers from the Shark Lab team. No sharks in the dock, but we got to see an eel and some fish, so that's pretty good. I'm going to turn the microphones on and let everybody give a little shout out in a second, so it's going to get a little crazy. But once again, thanks to everybody who joined in on the live stream. Thank you so much to the classrooms who joined us on camera today. Remember, you can check out the session on YouTube. Should be up there pretty much instantly, so you can go home, check it out when you like. Check out the showcase bar. There's links to Twitter, Google+, There's also the link to the Sharks4Kids website as well as YouTube. So lots of fun things to check out. Big thanks to the Shark Lab team. Big thanks to Jillian. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you guys for all the great questions and for joining us this morning.
All right, I'm going to turn the microphones on, and if the classrooms just want to give us a shout out, say goodbye. Thanks so much for being with us. All right. Awesome. Also a special thanks to Duncan for baking in the sun. And we're signing off here live from Bimini. Thanks again for joining. And keep your eyes peeled for pictures and a little video from what we've been up to. So thanks so much, guys, and we'll catch you next month for our next Marine Science Hangout. Bye, everybody.